So in grad school, we learn so much about theory and diagnosis and, what are the signs and symptoms for someone who has, for example, like transcortical motor aphasia. It's very specific. But, what we see here is that people are so individual and they have a mix of all types of things going on with their language and their speech and cognition. So that was one area that has changed for me as far as identifying what exactly is happening with someone in their language, and then how is that impacting their life actually. So we can say they have transcortical sensory aphasia. What does that really look like in their life, and how does that mix with other parts of aphasia, if that makes sense? So it's not straightforward. And then also we learn so much about the impairment perspective, and we talk about this a lot, but treating people at the impairment level versus what you do, Genevieve, the life participation approach. And we briefly learned about that in our grad program as we were going through treatment. But I've been able to see that, expand on life participation and how to really treat people in a way that enhances their life as it is now, where they are now, versus just at the impairment level. So can we get them speaking sentences with so many words, or can we get them ordering in a restaurant, and what's the priority here?
Welcome to the Listen for Life podcast with Genevieve Richardson. Genevieve is a speech-language pathologist rehabilitating adults with communication challenges after a stroke or due to a neurological impairment. Get equipped with knowledge from experts in the field and professionals you need to know. We'll hear stories and experiences from others who are navigating life with aphasia. So, put your earphones in and take a walk outside. This isn't just a podcast. We're in this together. Do life.
Good morning, everybody. Genevieve Richardson from Life Speech Pathology, and welcome to the show today. Today, I will introduce you to my grad student that's been with me for the last 8 weeks. Shayli is going to come on and talk to us about aphasia. She was very motivated to work in a practice for her internship, working with aphasia and adults, and was interested in neuroplasticity. And her semester project with me was to come up with a way of providing value back to you in the stroke community. She's created a great handout that talks about how we can utilize the Apple iPhone health app. We'll let her explain a bit more of that. But before we come into Shayli, I just wanted to let you know that Life Aphasia Academy has released a brand new course. I'll show you what that looks like. It's called the Unlocking Aphasia video course. It is designed for people with aphasia as well as spouses, caregivers, family, and friends. The modules are videos set up and easy to listen to, bite-sized lessons to help empower you to understand your aphasia. Do live speechpathology.com/unlock aphasia. Without further ado, let us bring up Shayli. Here we go. Welcome, Shayli.
Hello.
It's not like I didn't just see you 5 minutes ago, but that's all good. So everybody, this is Shayli Brink. Shayli, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm located in La Crescenta, California, and which has been so great with TELEPRACTICE. It's been nice to work with Genevieve, even though she's a ways away and they're in Austin. But I'm in my last semester of graduate school. I graduate in August. And so this is my last internship. I've had 5.
Wow, that's awesome.
Something like that. And so, yeah, this is my last one, and also my first one working with adults with aphasia. So it's been a really good experience.
Yeah, I loved when we met the first time and you were just so jazzed about neuroplasticity and the brain and language and working with folks that already have a lifetime story to share?
Yeah, that's been really interesting to see. It's, the motivation varies depending on the age that you're at and the life that you've had. And so, not that children are not motivated, they oftentimes are, but someone who's had their whole life derailed by a stroke and their life has changed, they're so motivated in therapy and excited to get back to a level that is functional for them where they can live their lives. And that's been really fun to work with these individuals because of that.
Neat. So let's dig into a little bit about what you've learned in this internship and spending these 8 weeks with a great variety of clients. Compare and contrast for us. What did you think aphasia was based on what you were trained in, and then what you experienced?
Yeah, so in grad school, we learn so much about theory and diagnosis and, what are the signs and symptoms for someone who has, for example, like transcortical motor aphasia. It's very specific. But, what we see here is that people are so individual and they have a mix of all types of things going on with their language and their speech and cognition. So that was one area that has changed for me as far as identifying what exactly is happening with someone in their language, and then but how is that impacting their life actually. So we can say they have transcortical sensory aphasia. What does that really look like in their life, and how does that mix with other parts of aphasia, if that makes sense? So it's not straightforward. And then also we learn so much about the impairment perspective, and we talk about this a lot, but treating people at the impairment level versus what you do, Genevieve, the life participation approach. And we briefly learned about that in our grad program as we were going through treatment. But I've been able to see that, expand on life participation and how to really treat people in a way that enhances their life as it is now, where they are now, versus just at the impairment level. So can we get them speaking sentences with so many words, or can we get them ordering in a restaurant, and what's the priority here?
And that's part of the reason I love the life participation approach so much, because we can still work at the impairment level, but we can also work on strategies and empowering our folks that we work with who have aphasia so that they can go to Starbucks and order their favorite coffee drink, or be able to pivot at a restaurant when an ingredient is out and they have to pick a different meal than what they had planned. I mean, this is a very specific example that Shayli and I have worked with one of our clients on, and that's what's so great about the life participation approach.
Mm-hmm.
We can do both. We can do it all. It just depends on what is the priority for that person. But in grad school, you have to learn treatment at the impairment level because that's the foundation of what we do. But building on those skills of being able to expand somebody's talking or their reading, their writing, their listening, whatever it is, then we can go to the life participation approach.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's
What-
learning about,
Go ahead.
sorry. It's learning about people at the impairment level, but also I've noticed about their lives and who they are too. And that's something I've really liked about this population is that's part of therapy, is getting to know the people and what their priorities are, and, their children's names, and can we get them to be able to communicate with the people in their life that they love. And so that's really been neat for me to see.
So let's pivot slightly and talk about telepractice, because hopefully the audience knows by now I'm 100, well, I'll call it 99% telepractice. There's never 100% anything in life, but 99% telepractice. What did you think telepractice was going to be like, and what was it in reality, and how do clients respond to it?
I think I had a little bit of an idea with telepractice just because of the nature of the world right now, and a lot of things have gone that direction. But comparing it to my other experiences, I would say telepractice offers us a lot of opportunities for treatment ideas, but then also, it can be limiting in some ways too. So navigating that component of teletherapy, I would say it offers us more just because we're able to pull up anything on the internet. So like where if someone's talking about a specific restaurant that they like to go to, we are able to pull it up right away, or look at where they are on the map. Like that kind of stuff isn't always accessible to us in a treatment room or in person therapy. So in that way, that was really cool to see. There's obviously the technical issues that happen every now and again, but I think that's part of problem solving, which a lot of people in our population can benefit from, is learning how to problem solve. And technology is an important part of our lives right now, and to be able to understand that is also helpful. So yeah, I liked the teletherapy modality.
So who do you think is someone who would be the right fit for telepractice?
I think anyone who has basic skills with technology, but also the capacity to be able to learn those skills too. So they don't have to be great with technology as long as they're able to adopt those skills, I would say. And then anyone, I think it's great because it helps people be very consistent. So if you struggle to be consistent with appointments, which it is hard, there's a lot of appointments, and the people we see have a lot of appointments. They're going to the doctors, they're going to OT, PT. And so teletherapy is really helpful in that way because you can just jump online when it's time.
I think that's a really important point, because even though our folks have to overcome the technology aspect, that's small compared to the amount of effort it takes to get out of the house and plan ahead and deal with traffic and getting into, whether it's a freestanding clinic or to the hospital outpatient center. That's where telepractice can be a real benefit.
Mm-hmm.
But not everybody is a great fit for telepractice. If you've never worked on a computer, or you're just completely, your mind is set against it, it's not my job to overcome those barriers to entry. But for those that have a laptop, a computer, and maybe they've done FaceTiming in the past, or even Zoomed once or twice in the past, and they're motivated to work, they're a good fit for telepractice.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought we would pivot a little bit again. Pivoting is fun. So Shayli, let's just talk through what you discovered about this app.
Okay. Yeah, so we were having a lot of conversations about how our clients can keep track of things like their health, whatever their health concerns are. Part of that was medications and symptoms. That's just a lot to think about for anyone. And then our people with aphasia, that can be overwhelming. They have a lot of cognitive overload at this time, trying to navigate their language and speech. And so the health app offers them a place to track that data. And so some of the categories that we thought would be really helpful were like medications, being able to track their medication, track when they've taken it so that they don't forget, or symptoms. So if you're dealing with a lot of symptoms, it's hard to remember all of the symptoms that you've dealt with in a day. And so there's a lot of symptom options, like appetite changes all the way to, memory lapses. Being able to go in and track that can be really helpful. And then also vitals, heart, blood pressure, all of these things. A lot of people might have concomitant health concerns as they're going through aphasia. So being able to go in and track all of that information can be helpful as they go into these doctor's appointments, or just keep track of their health going forward.
Mm-hmm. It is just unbelievable how many different things you can actually track. So I'm adding a little bit of stuff into the chat for those of you who are watching live as well as catching the replay. The iPhone health app can track it all. And the beauty of it, most of our clients, I would say, Shayli, I can't think of one of our clients that we see right now who doesn't have an iPhone. All of our clients have iPhones, and they all use them to a different extent. But that iPhone is a walking computer. You can walk into your doctor's office. Think about the situation if you had multiple doctors. And instead of worrying about bringing papers with you that show all your current medicines, you can show from the app, and I believe you can even email it directly, your list of medicines or symptoms, whatever the case may be, directly from there.
Yeah, you can share it. You can share it with your doctor. You can share it with a spouse or a child or a parent. So that option too, other people can see, help keep you accountable to, are you keeping track of your medications? Are you tracking your symptoms? You can even track like your nutrition.
Yeah.
We recommend not overdoing it. Like trying to track every part of life can be overwhelming, but just tracking those health areas that you are concerned with at this time can be really helpful.
That's a good point. I know when you and I were looking at the health app and all of the different systems that you can monitor, it's best to pick one, maybe two at the most, depending on your technology comfort, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Figuring out what maybe are you struggling with? Are you struggling to take your medications? Okay, let's just focus on that right now. Getting your medications plugged in. It's really easy to add data. And then the Apple iPhone it gives you all of this information within those categories about why you're tracking, what you're tracking, how to track. So even within the app itself, it's really educational.
Mm-hmm. So this is one of those projects that if it feels overwhelming, for any of you out there that are in speech therapy, for aphasia, and you want to set up your health app, ask your clinician to help you do it. Build that into your treatment program. Because we follow the life participation approach and work on impairment level strategies and techniques, we can easily incorporate that Apple iPhone into our treatment plan. We can write goals for it and work on carrying it over, training your family, how to use it, all sorts of great ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I like how there's a mobility category and it tracks areas that you wouldn't even think of, like walking asymmetry, step length. And I think about our clients with Parkinson's and their gait has changed and it's shifting, and being able to track that and see how they're doing in that area too. Like the stuff you don't even think about on a daily basis, but it's tracking. So if you do have an Apple Watch, that's helpful too for
Yes.
those things.
Well, after we started talking about it, I'm like, oh, I got to pull out my watch. Like I hadn't charged it in like 2 weeks. But now I'm back to counting my steps. So, not to say that Apple is the only product out there. There's plenty of Android products available that have a similar function.
Sure.
So, let's talk in general about resources for aphasia. What have you come across in our time together that you think people need to know about?
So there's different apps. We have a few people that use these apps. An example is the Spoken app. And it's a text to speech app where basically you can type in what you'd like to say, or it has loaded phrases and words. It basically helps guide you to statements that you'd like to say if you are struggling to express verbally.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a few apps like that, Spoken being one of them.
Mm-hmm.
We have a few people that use that, but that's helpful. I've had sessions with one individual where he's thinking and he has a word, it's in his head, but getting it out is he's struggling. And then he'll just pull out that Spoken app and he'll type it in, or he'll begin to type it in, and Spoken will guess for him. And then he'll be able to tell me that way. So it helps alleviate frustration for people. I think is really valuable.
That could work really well for advocacy.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say advocacy, I'm thinking of the person with aphasia that's out in the community or even at a family barbecue. And if they're under pressure or it's too noisy and they can't pull their thoughts together, they could have preloaded phrases and sentences, and they can get their phone to say it for them or point to it and the listener can read it. It's a way for them to still communicate, because communication is about that give and take of the message.
Sure.
So, so spoken app. What else could we use, Shayli? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but what else could our clients use as if they have an iPhone to help them advocate for themselves and what they need to communicate?
So they might not even need an iPhone for this, but we've talked a lot about that aphasia ID, where they're able to go in, type up a little ID card that also lists different ways to communicate with them. So it might list, I think there's usually like 4 or 5 options that you can select, but it's out of quite a few. There's like 10 to 15 options. But it might say, please speak slower to me when you're speaking to me. Give me time to respond. That kind of information that can ease up the frustration of conversation or awkwardness that someone with aphasia might feel when interacting with a listener who's new, a new communication partner. So they can just show them that card, and then it'll help their communication be smooth in that way.
Yeah, I think that's great. Now, for the audience that's listening, an aphasia communication card is a wonderful tool, but it's only a tool if you use it. And part of what we do in treatment is empower our clients when they encounter a difficulty with somebody that's a new communication partner, that they actually practice pulling out that aphasia card or showing the same content on their phone, whatever the case may be. We often have to actually practice it to get what we in the speech world call generalization. If you do it in therapy is one thing, doing it out in the community is something different.
For sure. Yeah.
So we have a question down here. I'll pop it up on the screen. Kevin is saying that he uses the notepad on his iPhone for regular situations, like what he wants at Hat Creek. That's a local hamburger place here in Austin. Then he shows it to the person who's taking the order.
Yeah.
I think that's a wonderful, Kevin, that's a great way of getting your order correct, but if you're at a drive-through, then what do you do? What do you think, Shayli? Let's put you on the spot again. So what if you're the person with aphasia and you're driving and you decide to go through the drive-through? Now, how do you use your phone?
Yeah, I think that's when that spoken app can be helpful. I'm sure you could make it loud enough or amplify, but you could put in your order that way, and the phone will speak for you if you're having a hard time thinking of the words that you're looking for. I think it's so much of aphasia is learning how to be resourceful, and I'm amazed by our clients and their resourcefulness. Like, I'm just blown away by how they've figured out to communicate. But we have people who will write something down on a paper, and I think a lot of drive-thrus they can see you, I'm pretty sure. And so you can show them that. That's
Here's my sign, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you bring up a good point that a lot of our clients have become very resourceful in a lot of different ways. But that's not common. Our clients are a little bit different in that we've actively worked on these kinds of skills. But not every clinician trains these things. So that's why I wanted to talk about resources and advocacy, so that those of you listening that are in the aphasia community, if you are working with a clinician, ask for help with this. Let them know that this is something that's important to you. It's just a matter of practice, and it gives you the empowerment to live your life and participate how you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you do a good job of that, Genevieve, too, because we encourage people to use those other modalities of communication. Like, it's not like we're just stuck to this one form of verbal communication. If they can figure out how to communicate in other ways, and it helps them live their life and participate in activities, then that's great. We're going to help build upon those skills that are already there.
Yeah, I think it's great. We have one other comment here that I'll put up, and I thought it was worth addressing. Mary appreciated the comment about how it's possible to learn technology for telepractice appointments. It is. It reiterates that aphasia doesn't mean a loss of intelligence and ability. What
Absolutely.
would you like to say about intelligence? We see it a lot on social media. Aphasia is not a loss of intelligence.
Yeah, I think that's super important to point out and remember. And although someone's language or speech has been impacted, they have all this ability and intelligence in a lot of times areas of expertise. Like we've had people in sessions help us with their area, HVAC system. Like we have a patient who knows so much about HVAC systems. It's like there's no loss of intelligence there. Is he having a difficult time communicating and expressing it verbally? Yes, but the intelligence is all there and the ability is there. It's just figuring out how to communicate it in all of these different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. There is not a loss of an intellect. The person is still the person that they were. Their personality is still there. What they knew before they had a stroke or head injury is still there. It's not gone. Our job, one of our jobs, is to help them to access that information.
Mhm.
I often think of the brain and words and memories as a very complex storage, like a filing cabinet. And then your 2-year-old decided to refile, to get into that file cabinet and move the folders and the pages. And, some of them are on the floor, some are, in a different room now. They still exist. It's still there. We just have to get back to them.
Yeah.
We have one more up here. Holly is saying that at Sonic, which is a fast food hamburger place here in Austin. I'm sure it's around the countryside. You can push the button and let them know you need in-person help. She said she uses the voice recording app on her iPhone and has saved a recording that says it in her voice. Brilliant. Good job, Holly.
That's awesome. We like those aphasia friendly restaurants and menus, all of that.
Definitely. All right, Shayli. Well, we will wrap up for this session. And I just want to say thank you to you. It has been a great fun having you at the practice these last 2 months. And you do a great job with the clients. Anything else you'd like to say?
Well, thank you. I've learned a lot. And thank you to all of the clients too that have been patient with me and given me grace when I'm evaluating them and taking longer than probably what they're used to. But yeah, it's been a really good experience.
That's wonderful. All right, everybody, we will wrap it up for today. Wish Shayli a happy graduation in August. Woohoo, it's just around the corner. And we will see you all. When am I going to see you all? Next week, next Thursday. Ooh, we have a special guest who's going to be talking to us about virtual connections, online aphasia support groups. That is going to be a great conversation. So I hope you will join us next week, and we will see you then. Take care, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in to the Listen for Life podcast. We hope you feel empowered and supported. Head over to listenforlifepodcast.com to see the show notes with links and information from today's episode. Do you have a topic, a resource to share, or a guest recommendation? Inquiring minds want to know. Let us know in the comments section. Wishing you a fabulous week.